Work it, work it, work it. It's Wednesday. How are you working it? You're live from my kitchen. So, how did you like Tom's video? He kind of snuck in there right before, huh? Lots of fun. Breathing in that prana, the breath, the life force. Just take a moment with me. Release anything that may be holding you back or making you feel stuck, and just go within. Root to the earth, ground your body, connect to source, and be present right here, right now. So who's live with me now? Show me some love. Share. Sharing is caring, guys. See? I'm all about love. All for one, all for one. So, make this your me time. Oh, I like that. These are fun. So what jazzes you up? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What lights your fire? What gets you moving? What is your inspiration? I'm hearing crickets. Chirp, chirp, chirp. I woke up this morning literally on fire. It was almost like wanting to jump out of bed. And I'm telling you, it's a gorgeous day. We've had a lot of rain down here in the Sunshine State, so we know the sunny weather can come and go because it is rainy season. And I had set the intention that I was going to take a walk and enjoy this beautiful air, the nature, and change up my routine. Well, the only thing I don't change is I still do my morning practice. That's imperative. That's a no-negotiable. Non-negotiables, people. What are your non-negotiables in the morning? Is there something that you need to do, have to do? Nothing can stop you or get in your way every single morning, every single day. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So how you show up, how you arrive, whether it's on time or not, dictates how your day is going to unfold, but also how life is going to show up for you. I see animals. Oh my gosh. See, that's one of the things I love is you can be walking down Edgewater Drive along the waterfront, as I was this morning. Aside from the noisy cars, because the hustle and bustle, it's a little bit of a touristy environment, and not to mention it's during the week, so some people have those 9-to-5s and they have their busy schedules that require they have to move in a car. So I'm walking down the road and I'm looking out, I'm seeing white cranes, sandpiper cranes, I am seeing amazing just expressions of nature, of love, of natural beauty, of life in motion. See, a body in motion stays in motion. And if you don't move it, you lose it, right? Ever since I was a little girl, I have had to be busy doing something, physical especially. Because for me, I have always had tons of energy. My parents will tell you I was the little girl who would wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning on a school day excited to go to school, to learn more, to meet people, to engage. Maybe I was a little bit crazy, but, you know, looking back, that little girl, she knew what it was all about, and she couldn't wait. She was so excited, and I still am. So I would wake up crazy early in the morning. I mean, I don't even think the bus came till 7, and that was because for some reason we were one of the first places to get picked up, and it took like 45 minutes to do the round. So can you imagine? I actually lived from the school less than 10 minutes by car, and the bus took nearly, 45 minutes to an hour to even get to the school. For children, that feels like forever. And the last thing I wanted to do was sit on the bus. Even if it was in the front, because I was a front row child. But then I moved to the back because I realized the cool kids were back there because I wanted to fit in. But in the mornings, I would wake up running through the house. Wake up, everyone! Wake up! It's time to get up! I'm awake, so that means you should be awake too. I'm alive! You're alive! Come join me! I know that my parents probably found that to be extremely exhausting and maybe a little tiresome in the sense that my father had a restaurant in Holton, Maine. It was called Bellamia's Pizzeria and Sub Shop. So after a long night, anybody who's worked in the restaurant industry, after a long night and then having a child wake up that early in the morning to start your day and then have to do the same cycle every single day, that's what it was, And so now I show up a little less over the top. I think I still have my moments. I think it's coming back too, actually. What's in store? Hey there! Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. Straight from my kitchen. I know the fan. Oh, I hope nobody gets dizzy by that. I'm doing the best I can. It's not a big space. So I'm a little bit obsessive about cleanliness, and I grew up a little anal retentive. My first name, I got picked on later on in life. Didn't even realize my first name was what it was backwards. Yeah, it is what it is. But the cool thing is, these days, I'm a lot better. I am. I've lightened up a lot, and it really took a long time for me to get here. Because life is too short to be so darn serious. And you got to change up your routine. You got to get out into new scenery. You've got to challenge yourself and get out of the house, for example. And I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those people that is very social, or at least in my past, I was very social. So I used to go out a lot. And I'd meet people and have fun and dance and party, drink, whatever. But I was in the military, and so, we always had an excuse to go out and drink when I was in the military. But I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink in who knows how long. It's been ages. And I don't need and never have needed some form of an amp up. I've never needed something to give me energy because I've always naturally had it. So as a child, I did like the taste of tea, and that was the only thing my parents allowed us to drink when we were kids. But I had tried coffee, and I didn't like the taste of coffee. And I never really cared for beer, although when I lived in Belgium, beer was a thing, so they had specialty beers, and that was cool to try. But ultimately, I don't need caffeine, although over the course of years, I did come to learn to love espresso and cappuccino because, I did live in Italy. And when you live in Italy, you have to do as the Italians. And wow, I'm serious. They know coffee. So when you come back to the States and you have coffee, you can be a snob. So I am a little bit of a coffee snob and do like to make my own on occasion. But it's not a crutch because if you just tap into the prana, breathe in that life force, that energy, the sustainer that keeps you going. If you feel lethargic, if you feel drowsy, depressed, you need a boost, you need an uplift, you need to breathe. You need to tap in deep down into that pelvic floor and let out all that stagnant junk. Because chances are you need to detoxify. If you're feeling weighed down by life or anything in your life, it's probably because you're not breathing. You're not breathing life into your life. And it really is about tapping into your breath, being aware, being in touch with your body's wisdom, and listening and seeing and appreciating and heeding the signs. Because you're not going to just skate through life, you know, doing the same thing over and over again. What's the definition of crazy? Doing the same thing over and over again. Boring. Mundane. We need to change it up. We need to be sassy. We need to up the vibes. Move it. Shake it. And you know, when you get your crazy on sometimes, people actually feel inspired. They're like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. Bring out your silliness. Get crazy. Get stupid, you know? There's no such thing as a bad thing. It's just how we perceive it. So even if you have a bad experience and you're like, oh, I can't. You have no idea what's going on in my life. Please, I said that for years. I didn't even know what was going on in my life. The reality was I wasn't engaging fully in it enough to recognize what wasn't working. So again, when we come back to the breath, the body awareness, you're more in tune with the forces of nature and the cycles of life. There are life cycles based on 7, 11, and 18, as taught in Kundalini Yoga, that are pretty cool. And I can go in depth on that another time. Maybe I'll touch upon it. And truly, we are constantly turning over cells in our bodies. So what is it? Every 7 years, your body has regenerated and turned itself over to the point where this is not the body it was. Certainly not yesterday, and certainly not 7 years ago, let alone. And it's clearly evident when you look through your pictures and you go, wow, I look so young there. Oh, you know, a little wrinkle here, I'm sure. Yeah, I got some wrinkles. I'm good with that. You know the worst ones? On my poor forehead. This is a chickenpox scar. Yeah, I had chickenpox when I was younger. Me and my little sister were in the room together watching PBS, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, all that cool stuff when we were kids. But my forehead, and this is one lesson I learned I want to share, cover it. And don't use baby oil, olive oil. Come on, please. Be smart. A tan is not worth it. You need your vitamin D, and then ultimately you're going to absorb it best if you don't put stuff on your skin. But if you're going to put on sunscreen, you need to find something that's not only organic, but doesn't have a bunch of chemicals in it that your body's going to absorb and then create the skin cancer. Because it's not the sun that causes the skin cancer. It's the stuff you put on your body. Whether it be the soap you're washing in the shower, the hair even, the stuff you're putting into your head. I mean, your body, your skin is your largest living organ. Largest living breathing organ. See, again, the prana. You can't get away from it. And if you did, well, obviously you're gone. So if you did, you're dead. So whatever you put on your body, number one, should be edible because it's going straight into the bloodstream, and it's less than a minute that it takes to get into that bloodstream. It's something like maybe 20, 30 seconds, which is why it's so imperative that if you get something on you, you flush that with water as soon as possible, especially things like, let's say, oil from the car, you know. And whatever you put on your body in your clothing. So most people don't pay attention. When you buy clothing, is it organic or is it dyed with chemicals that are going to seep into your skin? How about the fabric softener or the detergent that you use? Full of carcinogens, the majority of them are. If you're not doing the research or you haven't already done it, these are just simple little things that are coming to our awareness more now than ever. You can't hide this stuff. And you can't get away with it anymore, and you can't get away from it, except for you choose. Life is a choice. Every single thing we do is a choice. And if you're somebody who has dependents upon you, like children and family, you're still just as responsible for them through your choices. And I understand this. This is really important, because then you have to discern your choices in their best interest. And I would like to think that everybody who chooses for their child is also choosing for themselves, and vice versa, in the best interest. Because we are the influence of the people that will come after us. We want children that are alive. And most of these children that are being born right now, they get it. They're more in tune than we could ever be. How many children's videos have you seen pasted on Facebook with a little girl or a little boy asking what's on their plate and crying when they find out it's an animal that was alive? It's not rocket science. I remember my sister, my dad bought a lobster. And believe it or not, lobster used to be what the poor people ate back years ago here in America. It was not the delicacy that everybody thinks it is. And my sister was mortified, and she named it. She named every animal. It was the cutest thing. Even the lizards when we were here in Florida. She was so torn up about it, she would not eat it. And I'm sure to this day she won't touch lobster. I'm telling you, if you're a parent and you have children, they are your mirror. I watch friends with their children and I see it. They're always going to tell you about yourself. If they're acting out of line, chances are they just need your attention. And I'm only speaking from my own personal experience and observation, but truly I remember being a child, and when I didn't feel I was getting the attention I needed or the engagement, I would act out. How about that? You know, if you keep crying, you're going to make yourself sick. Well, guess what? I was sick a lot. I was sick a lot, and I went through strep throat, which is the heart chakra, which is the lungs, because it's all in the lungs. And it wasn't till I was later in life that it developed to the point where it was bronchitis. Because when we shut our hearts down, that's where our dis-ease will end up coming out. Just an example for what I experienced in my own personal life. So again, let's return to what jazzes you up on this Work It Wednesday. How do you work it? Now, I know, Paul, you work it. Because my friend Paul, who is down here in Florida as well, Destin, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Come on, type in some questions and all. I wanted to hear from you. Tell me what jazzes you up. What lights your fire? What gets you moving? How do you change things up? What's your non-negotiable for the day? Paul used to join me at the gym. He's in Deltona, okay. Paul and I met at the Gold's Gym in Maryland. It was at Greenbelt. Right up the street from both of us had houses up there. We've both since sold and moved down south because we're smart like that. Yeah, I know you're at the gym and you're biking. I've seen you eat too. And it was fun because I would actually do the kickboxing, the spinning. I was in there for boot camp back when we had this amazing instructor. Oh my gosh, if his name comes to mind, he was rocking it. He was just so, I loved his class. And then I would go and do weights on top of that. So I'd spend several hours at the gym. And Paul will back me on that. I had a lot of energy back then, didn't I, Paul? Still do. And we would just kind of just talk while we were doing squats with weights and what have you. Yeah. It's good to be active because you should sweat at least 10 minutes a day to move out all that toxins, all that accumulate. I like to get my workouts in the morning because, well, I'm kind of a girly girl, and there's my obsessive compulsive side of the house that I don't want to mess up my hair. I want it to be done and put my makeup on and not have to take it off before I go to the gym, because I'm one of those no makeup at the gym types. There's a lot of people, they insist on being all dolled up, and I'm like, that's a lot of work. Now, I understand if you're coming from work to the gym, that's one thing, and you don't have time to take it off, but then it gets all absorbed in your skin and clogs your pores and everything. But, yeah, I have to keep active because it is good. Yes, we were the center of attention. Oh, you're so awesome. I was actually working on trying to do, I should have gone a little bit more. I could have done the bodybuilding, the women's competitions, but then I got stationed in Belgium and had to move. So that's what happened there. But bringing myself back, sometimes we got to kind of, I squirrel easily, if you couldn't tell. Normally I can come right back to what I was saying. But going back to, as far as putting stuff on our skin, I wanted to also point out that everything from the makeup, most of that stuff is toxic. So when it goes into your skin, it's like as if you ate it. And there's some amazing new products out there now. You can make your own. If you saw my video of brushing my teeth last night, I'm all about it. And I can't even remember when I started. I just got motivated and curious and started researching things. Everything from blending my own essential oils to making my own sprays and elixirs. Okay, here's about where it started. When I was a little girl, we lived in Maine, and I was used to being out in the countryside. And so I had all of this beauty and nature around me. We had something around 25 acres of land up in Holton, Maine. I loved being out in nature, but I was also a city girl, so it was an interesting thing. But as a child, we had a little mini farm, and the woman who owned our house was German beforehand, and so we had all sorts of wildflowers, the smell of the lilacs in bloom. Oh my gosh, that's one thing I miss right now. We had gladioli, we had plums and apples, strawberries, blueberries too. We did have the wild strawberries. We had blackberries and raspberries and rhubarb, which when I was growing up and moving away, it just was funny to me that women would get flowers from men, and I'm like, but I always had flowers, so I never felt like that was a need. But essential oils. So I was in the Air Force, and my last title in the Air Force was a staff sergeant, which is an E5. Yeah, so when I was at my first duty station at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska, middle of nowhere in my opinion, I was introduced to some multi-level marketers back then, the pyramid stuff. Ooh. But I really believed in the product and the company, because at that time, that's when I started being introduced. I was about 19 years old. And they were educating people about sodium lauryl sulfite, glycerin that actually coats your skin instead of allows it to breathe. So it's like suffocating it. Propylene glycol. The irony there is it's industrial antifreeze. It's used in degreasing. And it's in so many of our products, ladies. You know, these are all basically contributing to heavy metals going in through the skin. So I actually started with the company. The name of the company at the time was New Ways. And they had the Skinny Dip line. If anybody remembers the Skinny Dip, they've got something new I've been noticing over the past couple of years called Wrap It, or the Wrap. And so that's kind of funny. It's like bringing up the past for me, in the sense that, you know what, you can wrap it and squeeze it all in, but unless you're changing your lifestyle and loving on your body and loving on yourself and really working from the inside out, none of that's going to help. You'll see temporary results. I mean, I did it when it was Skinny Dip back then. You put this cream on, and I think there was an accelerator, and wow, it was a lot of work. You're like, oh, and you had to massage it in, and then you had to wrap this basically plastic wrap around your legs, squeeze it really tight, and I think you had to have it on for 20 or 30 minutes. And talk about a funny product. I mean, really, these are the things we buy into. Have you figured this out? They have got us cornered. They do research on the market to see where it is you are suffering, and they profit off of you. They tap into your weakness instead of you recognizing it and saying, oh, healthy boundaries, that's not going to help me, because nothing outside of you is going to help you until you work and do the inner work. That's what this is about. You got to work it from the inside out. So, yes, massage oils too. I was introduced again, so somehow I dropped off in New Ways. Here's what happened. They also had these great products outside of the Skinny Dip line that caused me to get rid of all of my expensive products that I was using on my skin for a while. And they had like these supplements that were all Japanese and had all the herbs, and I was kind of like, okay, I get it. And I was trying to tell people about it, and they just weren't getting it. Even my boyfriend at the time, he was like, propylene glycol. And he would pick on me about it. And it was really hard, because what hurt me the most was that he wasn't supportive of what I was doing. So there's an example of an unhealthy relationship. If your partner is not supporting you, then, you know, something's not right. And I was really passionate and excited about it, but I couldn't seem to get people to wake up to it. But I saw what it was about at that time. Then I had orders to Korea. And when I got orders to Korea, I kind of dropped off on the whole New Ways line, because it wasn't over there that I was aware of, and I got busy with their year over there. And then I forgot about it. And that was an interesting dynamic, because what I learned is how we communicate with other people. And at that particular time in my life, when I was dating that individual, we had a blow-up argument because he had said he picked on me in front of other people at lunch or dinner. And when we got back to our dormitory, I proceeded to get really upset with them. And back then was when I used to, I can't believe you treated me that way. You don't get it. You're not supportive. You don't care for me. You don't love me. I was totally going off on him about it. And the reason I was going off was because I was hurt because he wasn't supporting me and showing his affection and love through that. Like just holding me in the space and supporting me and saying, hey, look at what she's doing. He wasn't open-minded enough for it. And that was okay, because there were two dynamics that happened. Over the course of the next year, I learned from him, it is about respect, but I also learned my communication style was completely different than what he was used to. And what I learned was, because he came from a very quiet, religious home, there was no raising of the voice in his home. And he literally explained to me, he literally shut down the moment my voice elevated. And he looked at me and says, you don't have to yell at me. And I'm like, I'm not yelling at you. What are you talking about? That was an old pattern I was learning to adjust. And he helped me with that. So that's how he served me. Is he taught me about a pattern that I had taken on from my environment growing up. And then while I was stationed in Korea, there was a day he called me up because he worked a switchboard. I was in the IT arena, so we knew how to get the calls across without paying. They ran the DSN lines back then. And he turned around and he said to me, here was his gift to me. You know, I didn't understand what you were trying to communicate to me back then. But I realized what you were saying to me was that you were hurt. And then even though my intention was not to hurt you, that I just needed to accept that I hurt you. Didn't matter how. And I was like, oh my God. Literally, it was about 6-month point. And that was funny because here I am just Mouth open wide. Wow, he got it. It only took 6 months. And in my mind back then, it was like, wow, it took him 6 months to learn that. But at the same time, it was so humbling to recognize that people do catch on. They do get the signs. They do hear you when you don't think they do. They do still think about you and reflect upon the impacts that they've made on you and vice versa and how you've made them feel. That was just an interesting dynamic, and that's what life is about, how we serve each other. We're always going to be there to serve, to help others grow, and they're going to do the same for us in return. And when you sit and you think about all of your relationships, I guarantee you can at least find one thing they taught you about yourself and how to be a better person. So patterns are all about recognizing them. Sometimes they have to be brought to your attention. Not always in the best way, or like I say, the gifts without bows. Sometimes it has to happen in such an extreme way, you feel you lose everything. 3 is the magic number. Well, you know, 3 is a very big number in my life. Rhyme and reason. I'm free. Rhythm and reason, or rhyme and reason. It truly is humbling to see that life can shift when it starts with you and you make the choice to change and you allow yourself to get out of your self. Because how we identify with who we are is not who we are. Take that in for a moment. I'm a mother, but that's not who you are. I'm a father, a brother, a sister, but that doesn't define who you are. Those are just roles you play. You putting on a hat. And man, my hair is messy under this, I'm sure. I sweat up good today. I got my sweat on. Oh, that too. It's a good thing that you can't smell me. Whew. But I don't mind. Oh, life is too short. You can't take yourself serious. And I used to be the one who took myself way too serious. So that, I'm hoping that I can inspire you to change up your patterns, to recognize them, to choose a better flow to align with your soul. Rewrite your stories. See all the lessons as the blessings that they really are. Because one thing I also learned is that more you come up across the same story, the situation, experience, and in your mind you go, this seems familiar. Is this coming back to me again? You know what I'm talking about. When you have that moment of clarity of, hey, wait a minute, haven't we been here already? Chances are what that's telling you is, we're teasing you. It's the universe going, let's see if you got it yet. Did you get it the last time? Or do you need to hear it again? We're going to keep getting the lessons until we learned and we shift the way we approach them or react to them. We have to take a deep breath in and respond with compassion for self and others, patience. Nothing needs your immediate attention right here, right now. Unless, of course, you're having to respond to a dangerous situation, of course. But ultimately, life is up to you. How you show up is how it shows up for you. I love these little hearts just floating around. Any other questions out there? Oh. What lights you up? Brandy, what lights you up? I see you. You working out all the time. She's extremely active too. Medication does change you. I am so not an advocate for medication. Have I taken it? Oh yeah. Let me tell you, in the military, they will amp you up on Motrin. Vitamin M, they called it. Sweet. Whew. Horrible on the liver, by the way. If you really need something, grab some fresh ginger, It's one of the best things, anti-inflammatory, immune boosting. It's a little spicy. If you're cold, it'll help with that too, because it is considered in Chinese medicine as a heating herb. Yeah, I used to be a huge runner and absolutely loved it. It was my moving meditation. And my first marathon was Paris, and my second marathon was Florence, my two favorite cities in Europe. My first two favorite cities. I have a lot of favorite cities now. And I am in Clearwater, Florida, David. I have to tell you, exercise is all about it. You have ginger hair. That's cute. It changes your life. I mean, if you're not feeling good, all you have to do is go outside and have a walk. I mean, I was walking down the Edgewater Drive, aside from the cars, like I said. Why is the blue flying sad? I don't know. I didn't see a blue one. Fierce. I'm enough. They keep changing. I didn't see the blue one. Maybe it wasn't getting enough attention. Not sure. Ooh. But yeah, walking along Edgewater Drive was a lot of fun because every time I turned around, there was something in nature catching my attention. The water was calm, and then the flying mullets, the fish were jumping out of the water. And I did try to capture it and didn't quite get it. Couldn't keep up, but that's okay. I was trying to be in the moment too, and I did catch them, at least by sight. And the ospreys were talking and catching their fish and feeding their babies up in the nest because there's several along there. And the cranes always crossed my path. And as I passed a bench, there was a crow who was like, ah! And I looked over, I'm like, hey there, buddy. And he's like looking at me like as if I'm going to do something. I'm like, yeah, you're good. And he just stayed there on top of the bench. And he was literally like about an arm's length. And walking through Dunedin is really sweet. It's a neat little town. If you ever come to Florida and you get a chance to visit Dunedin, if you're a baseball fan, this is where the Blue Jays come for their spring training. And they're right up the street from my house, which is cool and interesting. It's a really sweet little town, and I love where I live. I've got the trail so I can bike or walk wherever. And truly, I mean, it just takes taking a walk. If you're feeling sad or you need an uplift, just go out and breathe the air. Earth yourself, ground. Because that's what it's about. It's about being present here, right now. Because the more present you are now, the more your life is going to unfold with miracles and mysteries. Where you're going, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that. How often does that happen in your life where you're just like, I literally just had that little spark of a thought and it took off and it happened. Because that's how life flows. Without resistance, without the idea that it has to be a certain way or the attachment to something. Because that's our belief systems and it's what keeps us holding back. It's our biggest block is our belief system. That I have to work hard. But you don't have to work hard. If you work smarter, you don't have to work harder. The harder you work, you're trying to force it. The more you're forcing it, the more it's going to create more resistance and blockage in your body. But what you'll find is what you force will not bring you the satisfaction and the joy in your life that we all seek. But when you relax into life, align with your soul, and allow it to flow, I like to say, if you start your day aligned with soul flow, and just let it dictate, that's where life becomes golden. So for me, I consider myself an alchemist in life in general because I am all about solutions. I am all about creating this life and not being driven by it, because life is not going to tell me how it's supposed to be. My soul is going to let it be as it's going to. It's going to unfold with flow, with ease and grace. And you need to find the golden nuggets in everything. And the more grateful you are for every little gift, every little blessing, the more your life is just going to light you up, and you'll get up in the morning all excited, all moving it to groove with it. You're going to want good vibes. You're going to get sassy vibes. Get your silly on. Groove on. If you're still on the fence about going to Italy, join me. I'm telling you, it'll be a lot of fun. If you find my videos fun, imagine what I'm like in person. Sometimes somebody else capturing pictures of me is even more comical, because I don't have a million hands, and I certainly don't have a collection of pictures of myself. I tend to take a lot more pictures of everything else. And I am just as silly, if not more, than I can be with all this stuff floating around my head. And this is also just my proving to you who I am is not defined by what has happened to me. Because up to this point, my story was victimhood. It was all about how what life was doing to me, what this one was doing to me. Now I'm all about allowing and drawing in the beauty, the nectar, the sweet nectar of life. And that's why it's so important to recognize where you're being challenged and blocked in your life. Because the minute you accept it as just what it is, and changing the belief system and noticing where you're responsible for it. When you take personal responsibility for your thoughts and your actions, it's all going to change. First key, recognize it. Second, accept it, honor it, love it, appreciate it, thank it, be grateful for it, and then say goodbye to it and rewrite it. So, I love you all, I really do, and thank you so much for showing up on this Move It Wednesday, Wake Up World. Ah! And yes, it's hump day, so let's get our bunny on. I hope you have the most amazing day and appreciated this nooner. Hey, if it got your attention, it got you here. That's all that matters, right? So, show up. SassyVibesRetreats.com. Inbox me and I'll give you $250 off any of the rooms of your choice. Let's go have fun in Italy. Buona giornata.